The final trailer for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom gave an incredible look at what this new adventure has to offer. We saw locales, characters, monsters, and so much more. So of course, we're powering up our old analysis machine to see what secrets and hidden details we can find. We've broken it all down into 14 notable details, so let's get right into it. Was Hateno Village inspired by the recent Mario movie? Okay, so there's some sort of outbreak of mushrooms across Hateno Village, but they aren't natural. They're crafted? They seem to be some sort of new clothing style, with a shop over here even indicating such. There's also some NPCs that are wearing mushroom hats. This is probably the strangest new fashion trend I've ever seen. But at least it tells us that these different villages are also having some changes to them. The scene of Zelda falling is different. Zelda no longer just falls into the abyss like she did back in the E3 2021 trailer. Now her hip and her hand both start glowing yellow. Her hand is likely tied to the power of the Triforce. But why does her hip glow? Perhaps she already has this yellow tear gem and it activates? We'll come back to the tears later, but I wanted to at least pose the theory here, because clearly she's got something in her pocket that activates. Do we go inside Death Mountain? This appears to be underground or inside some sort of cave system. There's lava falling from high up, and Link is in his fire-resistant armor that he needs on Death Mountain back in Breath of the Wild. There are also minecart rails everywhere, and they even have the Goron emblem on the stone minecarts. Speaking of these minecarts, we can see they have fans attached to them in the back, rather than the original explosion-propelled ones in Breath of the Wild. And we also see Link battling a construct here. These sort of ruins in Death Mountain are fascinating, and it really expands on the idea that everything to explore may not just be up in the sky and on the surface of Hyrule, but underground and in caves as well. What are these water bubbles? These bubbles appear thanks to some sort of tech in the center holding the water in place. Link does some sort of floaty looking jump into it, but immediately swims to the top. He rises up like he normally does in water, so it's hard to say if this confirms any different kind of swimming. In a later clip, we can see these bubbles moving, so maybe Link can swim between them when they touch or get close enough to each other. What are these airships? We see various flying boats in the sky in a few clips, not just this one up close by Link. But what exactly are they? Are there people or enemies on them? They're very clearly related to the Sky Islands, and evidently related to this large cyclone in the Hebra region as well, since that's what we find them around. Presumably, Link will be able to land on and ride these different ships, but can he control them at all? Or are they essentially large moving platforms? Link does indeed have a Sheikah Slate. During this elevator scene, we can see the Nintendo Switch-like Sheikah Slate that Zelda has in the official artwork is actually held by Link. It's even plugged in with a little USB-C. So this confirms that Link is the one that has it. But what does it do? We haven't seen him use it at all thus far. Anyway, this scene is interesting beyond the Sheikah Slate. It's likely a follow-up to a clip from the last trailer with the Guardian legs. This wound-up cable is handed to Link, and then he holds it as the whole platform moves. But to where? There were even more new creations with the UltraHand, such as Link creating a giant fighting robot. Robot in quotes at least, because this is fused from wheels, a base, stone slabs, something for the arms, some sort of thunder weapon in the arm, and Link on top with some sort of lever to control it. It's pretty rudimentary, but I love this. It really pushes the idea of what sort of things we can create with the UltraHand. And of course, this Talus that he's going up against was a sort of enemy that we saw in a much earlier trailer. But now we know we can take them on with whatever we want to create. But additionally, we can see that Link creates a carriage to transport people across Hyrule. This gets pulled by his horse, but we can see how this wagon is connected in various places with the green putty. The question here is, where could we even be transporting these people to? Different villages or settlements? What if it's to battle? because you can fight alongside the people of Hyrule. The people of Hyrule can be seen fighting off monsters at Fort Hateno, and Link is part of this battle. The question is, do these happen randomly, like defending the travelers in Breath of the Wild? Some of the soldiers here are battling in basic armor with weapons, while others are on horseback or even teaming up together. It may not be to the scale of Age of Calamity, but this is definitely a small-scale battle, and that's pretty cool. Also, Link seems to be spinning some sort of construct spear, which is yet another new weapon for him. But there's another related scene here. Link stands with 7 other random people of Hyrule, possibly before another battle, based on how equipped everyone is. There's a Hylian on horseback, a Goron, a Gerudo soldier, and 4 other Hylians all around Link. Seriously, Link fighting alongside Hyrule is a huge deal. What happens if you lose these? Will there be higher stakes during them? Could these impact the world at all? Whether they do or don't, or they're just part of side quests, it shows that the living, breathing world of Hyrule is going to play a larger role in this game, and the people are going to be more invested in what's actually happening across the region. But you're not just fighting alongside random people of Hyrule, because the new champions introduced in Breath of the Wild are back. Kind of. So let's go over each of them one at a time. Starting off with Sidon. We see Sidon assisting Link in battling a stronger soldier construct up on a sky island. There's also some large vases in the background, one of which is being filled with water. But the main highlight here is the fact that these characters can actually assist in combat, and that's awesome. Seriously, they're playing big roles this time around. Now, a few other interesting points about Sidon here. He's wearing these kind of white gloves, but in a later clip, we can see he has a blue tear gem on the left one. But here during combat, he doesn't. So is this before he gets it? There's another change with Sidon during this cutscene too. We can see he's wearing this sort of headdress or crown, but he doesn't have it during the gameplay clip, nor in his official art. And what's interesting is that this is the headdress that King Dorephan wears in Breath of the Wild. So does this mean that Sidon is now king? Additionally, there's this weird sort of stringy blue energy radiating off of Sidon. It kind of reminds me of the Sheikah teleportation magic in Breath of the Wild, but why? We'll come back to this glowing energy because we see it with another character later. Moving on, let's talk about Riju. She's gotten a bit of a redesign, as she seems a bit older now, so it's very likely that some years have passed in Hyrule since Breath of the Wild. Her hair is shorter now, kept to a shoulder length, and her outfit is also a bit different, being much closer to Urbosa's, and she even wears taller heels. We see her dancing with a pair of twin blades, seemingly to summon strikes of lightning around her. And notably, this looks like it's during gameplay rather than during a cutscene. This large circle on the ground under her seems to be an indicator of the range of her attack. Moving on, let's talk about Tulin. Yes, Tulin, not Teba. Where even is Teba? He didn't show up in the trailer at all, and he was assumed to be the new Rito champion. Is he still injured after Breath of the Wild? Or was he training his son to be a warrior so he can retire? Or did something happen to him, driving his son into action to save him? So, evidently, Teba was not the one being set up to be a new champion, but his son Tulin was. Anyway, Tulin appears with Link in Sky Islands near the Cyclone. At first, bouncing into the air, launched by some sort of panel or structure below them, which we can see is actually part of the airships. So I guess that's what they're for. They'll launch you higher up into the air. Tulin flies to keep pace with Link. He has some sort of blue energy around him too, just like Sidon. And trying to make out the bow that he's using, it looks the same as in another clip, as well as the official art, which depicts the swallow bow. Speaking of that other clip, we see Tulin in the Cyclone with Link battling a large ice enemy, and we'll come back to that creature later. But focusing in on Tulin, he's also glowing during this clip too. And Tulin also shows up with the other champions in what seems to be a cutscene. We've come to this a few times, but focusing on Tulin, as he appears just before it cuts away, here he's wielding the Great Eagle Bow, also known as the bow that Revali used in Breath of the Wild. So is this after he's officially recognized as the champion? He even has one of those tier gems at this point too. So between the gameplay segment and these cutscenes, we've now seen changes for both Tulin and Sidon. But why? Also, Where is Yunobo? Other than Teba, he's the other new champion from Breath of the Wild that's missing. Yunobo basically played the same role as Riju and Sidon. So where is he? I suppose there could always be a new Goron stepping up, just like Tulin does instead of Teba, but even still, where's the Goron here? Well, there actually might be a Goron champion here. In the cutscene, we can see what looks like Daruk's weapon, the Boulder Breaker, in between Sidon and Tulin. But who's wielding it? That we still don't see. Why is this being kept a secret? Circling back to other questions, of course. Back to this blue energy that we've seen now with both Tulin and Sidon, what does it signify? Is their time assisting you limited? It did seem like teleportation magic, so is it possible they'll disappear after some time? Or is this some sort of magic aura for how they're able to join Link in these Sky Islands? It's hard to say for sure. Back in the September trailer, we saw stone artwork of a person with 7 tear-shaped gems. Well, now we've gotten a look at those gems in-game. Quite a few of them, in fact. Zelda holds this yellow one in her hands, before wearing it as a necklace. This other girl also wears the same yellow one as a necklace, and her outfit is very similar to Zelda's. Could this be Zelda? We have a short theory video about this, so go check that out for more on that. But back to the tears, Sidon has a blue one attached to his hand, Tulin has a green one, and it seems to be attached to his hip or on this bow. Riju has an orange one attached to her right earring, and Ganondorf has a glowing gem on his head as per usual, but we can make out a faint tear shape to it. And in his official artwork, it definitely looks like a red tear, meaning there should be 2 left. Yunobo, or whatever Goron may take his place, as a Goron champion, likely has one as well. And we see what might be another on the hand of this being with Zelda. We've yet to see what sort of power these tears actually hold, but they invoke similar feelings to the power of the sages from Ocarina of Time. Though Ganondorf having one is very curious. Would we be able to obtain that from him at some point? Or are we never gonna actually collect all the tears? Is time travel confirmed? So, hear me out. We have the shot of Hyrule Castle, with Link standing in the sanctum in the castle specifically. But it's no longer destroyed. In fact, it looks like it's back to its prime, like in the memories of Breath of the Wild or in Age of Calamity. But why? Also, why is everything glowing? There are these sort of white or yellow particles constantly rising around in a sort of shining effect. Could this be a memory or something? Well, Link has all of his current equipment, including his messed up hand, so probably not. But why would Link be standing in a restored Hyrule Castle? Could this be time travel? Does Link travel back to the past where Hyrule isn't in ruins at some point? But it goes a bit further than that. Wherever Zelda is, why are there no Sky Islands around her? And why does she have the Master Sword? And in her other clips, the different structures and tech around her seem far less aged. So did Zelda travel to the past? Our time travel theory only raises more questions, because who really has the Master Sword? We see this clip of Link pulling it, but notably his right hand is fine. So this is seemingly from the beginning of the game. At some point after Breath of the Wild, Link returns the Master Sword to its pedestal in the Lost Woods, and then sometime at the start of Tears of the Kingdom, he has to pull it again, needing it for something. But Zelda has it in various clips during this trailer, though we never get a chance to see if it's damaged, because Link has it in other clips from different trailers, damaged and destroyed by malice. So who really has it? Could this also be more evidence of time travel in play? We finally get a look at this mysterious person from the stone artwork. This clip lingers a bit, so they're clearly important, but they look very similar. They even have the closed third eye up top. So I feel pretty confident that this person is the same one that's depicted in these stone carvings. But that may not be the question for this clip. Who's behind them might be the bigger one. It looks like there's someone holding a Gerudo sword on the right and Revali's bow on the left. But neither of these are recognizable characters. They're definitely not Riju or Tulin, nor the original champions Urbosa or Revali. But this one on the left is definitely a Rito, looking at the bird-like foot. So, who are these? Do the champions we know undergo some sort of transformation or change? Or is this some sort of flashback to an even older time? Perhaps from 10,000 years ago, the original depicted Calamity, the original champions, perhaps? But back to this mysterious person, they may also be in this scene with Zelda, and we see that their hand is very similar to Link's new hand as well. Finally, let's talk about these terrifying new enemies, starting off with this weird goopy monster on a sky island.
What's this icky paint-like goop? It's moving!
It's almost fish-like. It seems like it can swim on land thanks to all this goop. It's also glowing a bright purple, and that's probably significant. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the first non-construct enemy that we've seen on a sky island, so that's pretty cool. In the previous trailer, we saw this three-headed flaming dragon standing on the bridge of Hylia, over Lake Hylia, of course. And now, we finally get to see Gleeok up close. Each head bears a large malice-like eye on it, and it is clearly massive, looking at its full body and including the wingspan. And it's still on the bridge of Hylia, so you fight it on this bridge, in a rather limited space. And finally, this giant ice creature. It seems to be at the heart of the large cyclone storm in the Hebra region, maybe even the cause of it. Very likely the boss of this whole area. Seriously, I'm afraid to fight this thing. This thing looks creepy. And with that, those are some of the biggest details from the final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. This is, by far, one of my favorite game trailers ever, and it easily got me incredibly excited for the game, even more than I already was. But what do you guys think? Did you find something else of note that we didn't mention here? Let us know in the comments below, and stay tuned to GameXplain for plenty more on The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Until next time, farewell.